everyone. How are you? I believe, cannot see face to face, but I think I can see the dynamic and the smile in your face, right? Okay, so without further ado, maybe I think Alicia has given a so-called a brief or one-liner for each of you, right? So now my question, first question. By the way, before I start doing only 3 questions, for those audience, if you have any burning question, can you please type in the Q&A, okay? So I will pick up some of the question and I will just spread it across the panelists, okay? So yeah, so don't wait until the end. Anything that you type in and I will take a look if any, because I prepare a so-called 3 questions. Whatever that in between there, I will just pick up your question and I will put it into the discussion flow. All right, so for the first question to everyone, maybe start with the following from left to right. So from Ang Witek, Jimmy, Muhammad Ali, and Cairo, okay, in that order. So question number 1, maybe you introduce yourself briefly, right, from your perspective, right, and also in terms of how your organization or perhaps your role in shaping digital economy. Right? Because what we do is that we help the industry, we help the community. So how that so-called contribute to the betterment of the digital economy, right? With the new value creation, since many organizations has accelerated their digital transformation in the last 2 years during the COVID time, right? During my keynote, I already mentioned, especially in the context of monetization and agility. Okay, I know it's a bit few buzzword there: monetization, digital economy, agility, digital transformation. But well, you all are the esteemed panelists, so I will leave it to you to describe, to connect the dots between this jargon. Okay, first, Witek, over to you.
Sure, thank you, Aaron. I am very honored to be invited again to your events. Maybe quick introduction. I'm right now a partner with Ernst & Young EY in Singapore, part of the FSO or Financial Services Consulting practice. I run technology consulting for Singapore. And so maybe very quickly, I've always been a proponent of enterprise architecture. I spent a good 6 years running, maybe about, I would say 10 years ago, Accenture's APAC enterprise architecture team. And I had a blast doing it, advising clients across the region. But I must say that digitalization is here. I mean, 10 years ago, I remember in 2010, when I was on the buy side, I was with UOB as head of wholesale banking. And I introduced the concept of, digital, and it was a hard sell. In 2011, it was a hard sell. But today, of course, everybody's bought in. So anyway, I'll just stop there and then we can talk a little bit more. But clearly, we have come a long way. Without architecture, that's impossible. You can imagine we're trying to architect a city without urban planning. It'll be a nightmare, right? So I'll just leave it at that at this point, Aaron.
Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. This is Jimmy. It's very honored to join your webinar as well. So a little bit about myself. I've been working in the IT industry for more than 25 years, and I've been taking a lot of different roles, working in NMC and also in different commercial business. So my current role is in MTR as the Chief IT Service Manager. I'm responsible for all the infrastructure, cloud platform, and also the enterprise architecture. At the same time, I've been very interested in all enterprise architecture stuff, and I've been doing a lot of solutioning, architecting in the last 20 years, and I'm now the convener of the Enterprise Architecture Specialist Group in Hong Kong under Hong Kong Computer Society. So we're trying to promote enterprise architecture in the industry, and hopefully we can get more practitioners joining the EA group as well. So get back to the questions asked by Aaron. What kind of digital initiative we are doing, and how we create value for our economies. So let me just put in my context of my current organization, for example, in MTR. MTR is one of the largest public transportation company in Hong Kong. We also have our international business in mainland China, Europe, and Australia. So I'm not sure if you also know that besides transportation, actually MTR is also a very important property development and management player in Hong Kong as well. In Hong Kong, we actually having the railway plus property model as our business. So in the last few years, we have been spending a lot of energy and investment on digital transformation. And basically, I can summarize into 2 major perspectives in value creation. The first one is to improve our customer experience end-to-end in their journey. I mean, the objective is to actually remove all the hassle from their day-to-day travel, and also to introduce a lot of new experience during their travel, including some new service. For example, during their travel, they can actually get a lot of promotions, or they can actually buy something on their way home, and they can actually pick it up in the station, etc. The other very important perspective, how we create value, is by driving and using technologies to transform our operations, our railway operations. We want to maximize our investment in our asset. You know, in transportation, asset is heavy, and it's very important we make fully utilize our asset like train, railway, and even the properties. At the same time, we want to reduce all the faults and incidents, because safety is always our first priority for the public. So basically, all the above two perspectives can be supported or improved by using technologies like IoT, AI, analytics, etc. Just a couple of examples. For our passengers, so we actually can, because as I said, because we are lots of talking about transportation, we also property management. We are also running property malls in Hong Kong. So basically, we can understand the pattern of our customer or our members, and how to promote them with personalized marketing or promotion. It actually help them, instead of bombarding them with a lot of different promotion and things like stuff, we can very target and focus on their interests and what really help them. So I think that is, and last year we see a lot of good response from that. And in fact, our users are very happy on the way we are driving those personalized marketing and promotion to them. For the operation, as I mentioned, the overhaul of trains is very heavy or very expensive. What we have been doing in the past 2 or 3 years is using AI and machine learning to actually drive down those frequency. In fact, we can, for example, imagine if you need to do a overhaul of a train for every 12 months, now we probably can do it like 14 months now. So that means it's more than 20% of increase in utilization of our asset. At the same time, we actually can improve the safety, because instead of having a fixed period of time before we do maintenance, now we are doing more intelligently. We are using predictive maintenance, etc. So this all kind of things are generating a lot of values to our stakeholders, including both the company itself and also our end customer. So this is a quick overview on my side.
All right, thank you so much, Jimmy. Pak Ali Hanavia.
Thank you very much, Aaron. It's an honor for me to be invited in this webinar, and I welcome you all. And so, as you know, my name is Ali. You can call me Ali. It's a very long name if you mention the whole one. And my current role is the head for Center for Information Systems and Technology of the Ministry of Finance. And in addition to that, I'm also working at a Deputy Chief Enterprise Architect for the Ministry of Finance as well. And I did my PhD also in the area of enterprise architecture. My research even was improving the e-government performance through enterprise architecture. So I'm very delighted to be invited in this forum. And speaking of digital economy, what we did in the Ministry of Finance, actually we started in 2014. We created what we call the blueprint for our the institutional transformations. And then, as some people might think that we were forced by COVID to do the transformations, I would rather say that we are not forced by COVID, but the digital transformation that we have been planning was hastened by the situation, the circumstances that we cannot avoid. You know, like I think everyone here is also facing the same problem, right? And we are quite happy, so we are still on the right track. And the initial intention of digital transformation was hastened with the circumcision in 2020 up to now. So, and in addition to what the Ministry of Finance have already been done for the digital transformations or digital economy, we did what we call modernizing the government or the financial government financial by restructuring the government accounts. Before we did what before the Ministry of Finance implement the digital transformation, we had a lot of accounts, not only in the central banks, but also in the commercial banks. So we have thousands of accounts, and we restructured them into less than 10 accounts. So you can imagine what happened to the financial systems that we had. If you are aware of the financial systems, you can be, I think you can understand the magnitude of we have been done in the Ministry of Finance or in Indonesia. And also, we did what we call, we are adopting the electronic fund transfer from the government accounts to its beneficiaries. So there is no interaction between the beneficiaries and the government any longer. So we send the money directly to their accounts, each individually, even the salary for the government employees. And we also developing the digital payments to promote the small and medium enterprise. They are well, to some extent, these industries are left behind. So we are promoting digital economy not only to the government sector, but also we are promoting them to the small medium enterprises. So I would say that the value that we are generating by adopting digital economy, we have been considered as a better, good quality services or public services, and also we have been considered as a better accountability by having an unqualified opinion from the Supreme Audit Board for our financial report. And also we have been receiving some award for the good governance. And last but not least, also supporting and promoting digital economy to the small and medium enterprises. Back to you, Aaron.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Ali, for your insightful information. Right, I mean, from us outside Indonesia, we have been hearing how the Ministry of Finance Indonesia, your minister, okay, Ibu Sri Mulyani, has been the spotlight almost everywhere. Right, I think I see the so-called achievement and also the towards the economic superpower is there, okay, because the population economy is big, right? So thank you. I think EA playing a critical role. So now over to you, Khairul.
Hi, it's good to be back. My name is Khairul Anwar. I'm the president of Malaysia, Asia Malaysia, and I'm currently working as the technical director for Next Smart Suran Berhad, and also serving as an EA consultant. My take on digital economy now is what we call a way to move forward for enterprises, for government, which will help to create values that will benefit all the business entities and public sector. So my role now is to advise or to provide consultancy for small, medium enterprises, and also for some government agency on how they going to plan their digital transformation, and how from that transformation they will get the value from we call moving towards digital. So I believe digital economy will provide we call a better inclusions, accessibility, equalities, and social stabilities for the people at large. So I hand over back to Mr. Aaron. Thank you.
Right, thank you so much, Carol. Okay, now I have the individual question. Okay, so I want to ask Witek, right? I think just now you highlighted something that 10 years ago you need to do the hard sell. Okay, it is right. Even 3 years ago, don't need to be 10 years ago. 3 years ago, people said, I can survive, right? I don't need all this type of fancy digital, But when the COVID strike, I have no other choice. Okay, become the necessity. Okay, so maybe what have you seen the financial services progressing, right? I think you have seen maybe forget about 10 years, 3 years ago, before COVID and after COVID, right? In embracing digitalization.
Yeah.
And then how the focus on the customer data as an asset for the digital intelligence, because now data is the next oil, right? Everybody is fighting, the bank got so many transactions, so many information that how can that make it a so-called a digital intelligence, right? Which in turn can contribute value to the business, which of course, back to the topic of the digital economy. Okay, we take over to you.
Thanks, Aaron. I think I'll tell some stories. I think it's easier, and maybe I'll take a look and reminisce a little bit about my roles. I had half the bank in UOB, group head of wholesale banking, and in 2011, I remember proposing the iPad. It was out in the market for about a year, and already there was a buzz even then, right? That these mobile devices, iPad and tablet and so on, will change the way people do banking and so on. So I remember doing a presentation with the iPad, right? So I showed the swipe, and all that stuff, right? And of course, it went over the head of most people at that point. It was really way before its time. I mean, looking back the last 10, 12 years, I would say the world has gotten and accelerated itself into what we call digital realm, right? But I just want to caution the word digital, because ultimately, whether you call it digital currency, digital business, or digital processes, or whatever it is still really business at its core, right? I mean, if you look at a country like China, where they don't really use currency in a hard note, physical cash, it is still a way of doing transaction. It is still the business, it's still the economy. So adding the word digital doesn't really mean much, other than now we are operating at the speed of electrons or light, if you like, right? And so tagging something to call it digital, I think it's a bit of a meaningless term, because it is basically still the business, it's still the economy, right? So oftentimes, us architects, we always get very excited when we tag on something called digital, and then we get very excited. But remember, it is still the business that you're running. It is still real dollars you're earning. It's still real profit you need to make, right? If you're especially. So for banks, I think, I see in the last few years, most banks in Singapore and the region, they have started innovation center. Some have even shut down their innovation center, right? And they used to say things like, oh, we are not really a bank, we are actually a IT technology company. Now they are reverting back to the fact that we're actually a bank. We're using a lot of technology in the way we do things. So, don't get too carried away with the word digital and technology and so on, but ultimately you're still running the business. EA is really a tool for communicating to the stakeholders and be able to drive forward in a consistent way. In the past, I remember in 10 years ago, I did a lot of consulting for clients in the region. You will find that the data are siloed, and even more so the customer data. They had built a savings account and they embed customer information in there. They built a fixed deposit that they embed customer information. And after all the years, customer data sits in like 20 different places in the bank, right? And that means there is actually no architecture, no blueprint. Everybody was doing jolly well whatever they like, right? In the bank, from an IT, from a design perspective and so on. Of course, today, with a blueprint, and I know there's a question there that talk about what is a blueprint. Well, the blueprint is really just a map. And in an enterprise architecture, the map is just not technology. It includes the idea of strategy, includes the idea of organization, includes the idea of processes, of course, technology, right? And that alignment comes together in a form of well thought through approach. And then you communicate that top to bottom, top to the board, the management, and to all the working levels, and down to the individual programmers and whoever is dealing with the data, so that everybody is speaking a direction, right? I can imagine if you don't do urban planning, the city will just go into chaos, like many cities in the region, right? But in the same way, if an organization doesn't have an EA blueprint, it will again go into chaos, because everybody will do jolly well whatever they like, and they will embed whatever they like from a data perspective anywhere and anyhow, right? So enterprise architecture really is a language of direction. It's a language of managing upward. But don't forget, it's not only to manage upward, it's manage the direction of the organization. And I see the region, a certain maturity in banks. I think banks kind of take this quite seriously, and they're usually in the forefront of things. I see a lot of the clients that have quite mature architectural thinking, although at different level of maturity and at different level of federation, right? Because larger banks tend to have global architects as driving the direction, and then leaving a lot of the decision to the ground, to the local chapter of the banks. But then the regional banks may not be as mature in the way they think about enterprise architecture, and so they are more technical architecture or solution architecture, driven. But when you talk about enterprise architecture, you're really talking about strategy alignment. You're talking about business organization and processes alignment to the technology, right? Technology is not subservient to the strategy, but it's really a symbiosis. It comes together in many ways, right, as a whole. So that's what I see in the region. I see banks at different level of maturity, some more than others, and that's kind of like how I see it. But again, EA is a tool. It's a tool to communicate. It creates blueprint, which is really to define the roadmap and the map for everybody to march in step towards the same direction. Aaron?
Yeah, thank you so much, Vitek. I think I'm fully aligned with what you described, right? Because I saw travel across the region and I meet up with all the, not only financial services, but is there, they got some sort of adoption, but the maturity is totally at a different level. Okay, thank you so much for the insightful sharing. Now, Jimmy, okay, I think you have shared a lot on the how your organization has contributed to the, the well-being of the citizen in Hong Kong, and everything is like make the conveniences, right? You're focusing a lot on the customer, and I believe you have already mapped their customer journey with a different persona and etc. Okay, so perhaps would like to ask you more inside information, right? What do you see any other opportunities that can contribute significantly to the digital economy that maybe in your pipeline, right, or in your future to be? Okay, Jimmy, over to you.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I think one of the things that my company or all the transport industry are looking at is to improve the overall value or service to our general citizens. I mean, recently in the last few years, you see a lot of companies, they are focusing on ESG, right? I mean, environmental, social, and governance. In fact, for example, in MTR, we look at this, the social inclusion is a very important topic. And in fact, this is what the general public is looking for from a large enterprise like MTR. So what we have been doing in the last 2-3 years is we are trying to add a lot of capability into our business to actually take care of those minority group, the elderly people in Hong Kong. Just give you a little bit of example. For example, because maybe you have heard we have opened some new lines in Hong Kong. Actually, we have some stations that we have been expanding a lot, a very huge area, even a train station. And we need to find ways or provide a lot of solutions to actually help our users, in particular for those minority people, like the people with disability or the elderly, to actually find their way. So basically, we have enhanced our infrastructure and our digital application to include a lot of that kind of social inclusion capability. Like the wayfinding for people with disability. We have a lighting reminder for the elderly. We have a waiting time indicator so people can know how long it takes them to actually get to the platform and the next train, etc. A lot of things. It's actually helping the general public. This is one area. Another area that I observe in the industry in Hong Kong is they start a lot of transportation company. They're trying to build up their token money economy or ecosystems. For example, airlines, they have miles. I mean, in transportation, in train and bus, they have points. And in the last few years, seeing some integrations or partnership among those enterprises. They're starting to make those points and miles becomes more trustworthy. For example, they're adopting blockchain and that kind of solutions to make those miles and points become more relevant. And in fact, a lot of transport company now in Hong Kong, they actually can exchange points and miles. And they can also use those miles and points and in this shopping mall, as I said, for buying things. So they're trying to build a ecosystem in Hong Kong, starting with the transport industry. and trying to make the life of the citizens more like, as you guys mentioned, in China, they don't actually have a physical money anymore. So we want to make that happen in Hong Kong. Another key focus in last 2-3 years for transportation in Hong Kong is the concept of mobility as a service. So simply say, it's kind of like what I mentioned before. You want to make the whole journey of the users or passenger very nice. I mean, we want to expand that to actually cover all kinds of people, including overseas travelers. So the concept is like, for example, if you want to fly from Singapore to Hong Kong to attend a physical seminar. So by the way, you book your flights, and you book your hotel, and you book your transportation, etc. We want to make sure that whole experience can be integrated. So that's why there's another area that the transport enterprise or company in Hong Kong are doing. They're trying to work together to build that ecosystem. So that, for example, if you suddenly have another important business engagement that you have to delay your travel to Hong Kong, then you can actually just make one change in your app, and then it can actually help you to plan all the changes in your itinerary. So no matter it's hotel, no matter it's the flights or the MTR, train, etc. So everything can help you to manage it, so that it can actually give the total convenience to all the travelers. In fact, why this concept is very important in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is more like a city for tourists. And at the same time, as you guys should know that in China, we are looking to build the Greater Bay Area. We want to connect all those suburbs within the southern part of China, and we want to build a larger economy there. So the transportation and the movement of people in that area becomes critically important for the whole industry and Hong Kong as well. So this is the key focus. And that's why we are putting all the investment and all the strategy in driving that. So this is what's happening in Hong Kong and in the transport industry.
Yes, thank you so much, Jimmy. Seem like you are promoting Hong Kong. Then I think the next one is if no quarantine, I think I'll be the first one to book the flight to Hong Kong.
Yeah, looking forward to that, Aaron.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much. Now, Pak Ali, I think you have already shared about all the initiative on the Ministry of Finance, right? I think it's we don't undermine the size. It's huge, right? The country, Indonesia, is one of the largest population in Asia, right? So perhaps want to know about how do you leverage on the enterprise architecture, right? Especially about how can we prevent overlapping. I think the issue about the bigger the organization is, the more overlapping and duplication, right? Especially when we want to do improve efficiency to achieve our so-called national transformation agenda. How can we prevent so-called the overlapping and the duplication of the effort, maybe across the the Ministry of Finance in Indonesia? Over to you, Bali.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. I think you are very aware of Indonesia. The overlapping situations, we are experiencing that one. When we first established the initiative or EA initiative, what we did was we are developing or drawing the current architecture of our systems, right? And then we found out there were so many overlapping systems, even within the Ministry of Finance. Now we understand the situation within the Ministry of Finance, and then we try to start by defining which roles can be developed by each line, echelon 1, because in the Ministry of Finance we have around 12 echelon 1s, and they have their own business, or strategic businesses that they need to develop, like digitaxes, digitreasury, custom and excise, and asset management. They have their own business that they need to tackle with. So it is understandable when they're starting to develop our common programs. And now we, in our enterprise architecture, we define the future, which is the common architecture to be developed by us in the Pusintech, which is led by me. And for other specific businesses, each line ministries can be each echelon 1 can develop their own systems. But still, we are the one who orchestrating to make sure that there is no overlapping events between one echelon 1 to another. And this knowledge that we got from the Ministry of Finance, we leverage this to the national level. That's why the Ministry of Finance is also involved in IT investment clearance, to make sure that there is no overlapping initiatives from one line ministries to another. We believe that some initiatives are across one to another. So the Ministry of Finance is also involved in making sure that there is no overlapping investment in other line ministries. So basically, we are spreading the knowledge that we got from within the Ministry of Finance to other line ministries. And also, the Ministry of Finance is also involved in the budget committee meeting to make sure that the budget is spent in the right directions and based on the needs of each line ministries as well. And the Ministry of Finance is also had a vision to broaden the systems that we are developing. The common application that we use within the Ministry of Finance also might be needed by other line ministries. So we decided to make sure that the integrated applications which are used in the Ministry of Finance is also available for other line ministries. So the architecture itself should be ready when we are leveraging the system to other line ministries. That's how we tackle the overlapping issues in Indonesia. Aaron, back to you.
Thank you so much, Pali. I think it's quite insightful, right? I mean, is any overlapping, it will cost the cheapest also in the 10 of few hundred million, 10 millions maybe, right? So it's like the size of the thing can be billion of dollars wasted, right? Luckily, enterprise architecture in place in the Ministry of Finance so that you can straight away discover that early before too late, right? So I think this is also the opening up with other ministry or agency to collaborate. I think this is a fantastic so-called a goal that everyone is trying to achieve. Okay, perhaps now, Khairul, right? What did you observe in the industry in terms of, especially in Malaysia, right? From both private and public sector, and how they embrace and monetize their investment in their digitalization efforts, right? Have they reaped a lot of benefit, or some of the I don't know. I mean, if you have any insightful information or experience, what is the rate of success, lah? Let's put it that way, right? Because everyone can say, I've done my digitalization, I've invested 30 million, 40 million. So what have you harvest from that effort?
Aaron, that's a tough question, Aaron. From my personal observation, I've worked with the government not work with the government, work with government project that goes into digitalization, move from typical on-premise infrastructure to cloud, and then going from manual processes to online processes, and we call improve their service deliveries across we call business process. What I can tell, what I can share from my experience, that not all digitalization can be considered successful. Why? Okay. I think you already raised this in your opening just now, that there are a lot of digital effort going on, but it is in a silo mode, island, right? These business units are going for digital. These business units are going for digital. So they are not talking to each other. So this what I call it is going for digital. Yes, we have to admit, right? From manual processes going to online platform, going for digital, but does it translate into we call a holistic digital transformation that brings we call the ROI for the organization, right? This is where we can see the importance of having enterprise architecture that become the central that connects all these digital efforts into one what I call one big digital transformation for the organization. Okay, I think your slides earlier illustrate this very well. Okay, and then what we can see now, across board, across the industry, we are seeing the demand of EA is increasing. I mean, I've seen job advertisement, we call advertising for EAs across industries, from oil and gas, from we call telco, from IT itself, from government. This is where we call this is, I would say this is the golden age, the start of golden age for EA, that will drive, okay, that will play a vital role in shaping this digital transformation, okay, with the right strategies, right? That we call that we can no longer see island of digital effort. Right? It becomes one overall holistic digital transformation. So that is my take on what I see happening in Malaysia now.
Right, thank you so much, Khairul. Okay, just a reminder for those participants, if you have a question, please type in the Q&A section. Okay, I will pick up. So, by the way, I haven't highlighted, actually all the panelists today are coming from different countries, right? Witek is from Singapore, Jimmy is Hong Kong, Pak Ali from Indonesia, and Khairul from Malaysia. Okay, and if you ask me, I'm from where? I'm from anywhere. Okay, so I have exposure with all the countries. So yeah, it's interesting, different perspectives. Okay, so the rest, I type in any question in the Q&A. I will ask the final question for the panelists. Okay, I haven't really asked specifically about enterprise architecture, did I? But has been mentioned repeatedly, right? Because whatever you want to solve, no architecture, then how you solve, right? So now maybe it's the direct to the point question, right? No wishy-washy, but direct to the point. How do you see enterprise architecture play a critical role, right, in shaping digital economy? Okay, so I will, perhaps now I will turn the order the other way around, right? Maybe from Khairul. Okay, you can be one sentence or one paragraph or 2 minutes maximum length.
To sum up the role for EA, EA will play we call a significant vital role in shaping the digital economy, because what we need, the new value creation, we want it to promote greater inclusion, equal accessibility, and also benefits the society at large. That is my view for EA in digital economy.
Thank you so much for the sweet and short to the point feedback, right, or comments from your side. Okay, over to you, Ali.
Okay, I think in our experience, the role of EA is in our experience, EA can be used to identify problems, not only problems but also potential problems. And we also can see the opportunities ahead by knowing what's going on in the Ministry of Finance, and also we can find the opportunities to innovate even further. And we also use EA as an orchestrator and transforming the business processes within the Ministry of Finance. That's I think that's the role of EA within the Ministry of Finance, Aaron. Thank you.
I like your sentence on the EA can discover problem early, right? That's very, very important. When you have discovered problem in the implementation, oops, it takes 10 times more complexity, cost, resources, time, etc. Right? And then drive innovation, because why? You have a time to innovate, right? It's not under pressure that in the typical project like 3 months or 6 months, you totally no room to move, right? But when you define architecture, you have the time. All right, thank you so much, Wally. And now, Jimmy.
I think as other panelists has mentioned, I think EA is very important actually for digital economy, because the focus is also on the business and IT alignment. The reason, in particular under digital economy, because we are seeing the demand is coming up so quickly and new technology is coming up so quickly. If you don't have a proper governance framework to actually align the technology you pick, and also have a framework to transform your digital capability within your company, all sorts of problems will come up, as the other panelists said. For example, you have duplicate investment, you pick the wrong tools that cannot be used for other business unit within your organization, etc. So I think that means EA is even more important for all the companies and enterprise during this digital age of business. Back to you, Aaron.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much. I like the concept of if you don't have a framework, then how do you execute, right? Gut feel. I feel good. I'm going to adopt this framework. Okay. Oh, I just met with that vendor. I feel good. I just adopt. Right. At the end, that's it. Island of initiative and etc. I think we all know those who have gone through there, and then they pay the school fee. You know, they go through the hardship and they learn. Right. So I think this is a very insightful and wise advice. Okay, you have about 4 minutes maximum. Right?
I'll take 2 minutes.
Your thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I'll just leave everybody with this one single thought. And hopefully you kind of understand, because I'm going to be a bit philosophical. Sorry about that. So, you know, I mean, we can always take knowledge in a one-dimensional form. So you can take the abstraction, okay, of enterprise architecture, and you go down the level of details, right? And we went from enterprise architecture level, and then we go down to solution, and then we go down to, like, you know, server diagram, we go down to process flow, we go down to organization chart, and so on and so forth, right? At the level of detail, this is, to me, a very one-dimensional way of looking at enterprise architecture. The problem is we never really learn to manipulate abstraction level at a higher state. Okay, let me try to explain what I'm trying to say. If you look at an architect of a building, they didn't just make it functional, they make it sustainable, they make it very livable, they make it aesthetically pleasing, they make it very humanistic in a way that they design a building today, versus in the 70s when it was completely functional. You look at a building in the 70s, they were completely functional. There's no sense of aesthetic, no beauty in it, right? I think we're coming to a stage of building application and building technology that requires us to think about the abstract level. When you look at a stack of enterprise architecture, at a high level of abstraction, there's actually a lot of details, such as moral, ethics, right? Economic, humanity, sustainability, and so on and so forth. There's so many levels of details at that level of abstraction and design that we really don't spend a lot of time thinking about, because what we do in the last 10, 20 years of enterprise architecting is we go down the level of detail to the Legos, to the very tiny servers, and, you know, blueprint down to the 5th level of detail, right? But we never really stay at a humanistic level, the moral level, the ethical level, the aesthetic level of where we are designing. And that's where I think enterprise architecture needs to be taken, because that's the language of the board, of businesses, of humanity, right? We're all techie, we all like to go down to the detail, and we're all very detailed people, so we want to go down to the level of Lego that everybody can understand bits and bytes, right? But I think that's the wrong direction. There is level of detail at every level of abstraction. There's detail at the lowest level, there's detail at a high level. And when you talk about design and concept of humanity and moral and so on and so forth, we need to stay at that level a little bit longer, a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more debating of where we're taking enterprise architecture. The reason why we failed is because we go down to the detail and we lost everybody. But at that level of humanity discussion, there's actually a lot of detail in it that we should not just, you know, bypass. Okay, so with that thought, sorry, this is a very philosophical point. With that thought, hopefully it will give all the enterprise architects some food for thoughts when you are taking it to your bosses, to whoever you're taking it to. Yeah, Aaron.
Yep. Okay. I think that's absolutely correct, because some of the architecture is that they go to the deep dive, like, you know, diving, go to like 30 meters and below. You know what happened when you dive 30 meters and below? No color. Trust me. You have to bring the torchlight, right? You bring a torchlight, you turn on, and your oxygen gas also finish very fast, right? It's better snorkeling. Okay, snorkeling at the 2 meters, 3 meters, 5 meters. Then you can see all the color, right? That's why the architects need to know when to deep dive and when to snorkeling, okay, when you present your architecture. Okay, with that, I think we are just in time for to finish the session, and I would like to say special thank you very much to all our esteemed panelists. I think you have set aside your time in this last 1 hour to share your insightful information. I believe that every one of us have learned a lot, right, in this less than 1 hour sharing. Okay, so we return back the time to Alicia for the next topics. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you
Aaron.
so much,
Thank you.
Aaron, and all the panelists.